So just last week I did a video answering a bunch of questions from you guys about my early playtime with Jedi Survivor at the early preview event in LA just a few weeks ago. You guys seem to absolutely love that video, and there were a bunch more questions left in the comments. So today we're doing essentially a follow-up or a part 2 to that video, answering a bunch more questions from you guys, and I think we've actually got 8 in this one compared to 6 in the last one. So there is plenty of stuff to get through. Now if you guys are new to the channel, definitely hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. We are literally only just over a week from the launch of Survivor. I'm so freaking excited for this game, and obviously that means there is going to be a lot of content here on the channel. So if you guys are interested in the game, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of that content. But with that being said, let's get stuck into these questions. So the first one we have here is actually in regards to the blaster stance, and it says, when in the blaster stance do you hold a saber 2 or just the gun? Now obviously you guys haven't seen any gameplay of this. They have been very, I guess, secretive or mysterious with this blaster gameplay. We did get to see it at the early preview event. It was just only about, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes worth of gameplay from Jason DeHarris, who was one of the lead combat designers on Fallen Order, and this guy's an absolute freak at the game, so he was just putting on a show for us. And so we were lucky enough to actually see the blaster stance. Now you do hold both the lightsaber and the blaster, and that is what makes this stance so cool. If it was just a blaster, it would still be pretty cool because obviously this is a lightsaber based game, but you do hold the blaster, I believe, in the right hand, and then you actually hold your saber in the left hand. I cannot wait for you guys to actually see the gameplay. It doesn't seem, you know, they put the final gameplay trailer out last week, so it doesn't seem like they're actually going to show any off until the game actually launches. There is actually a question relating to that later in the video, so just be sure to watch to the end because I'll give my thoughts on that as well. But it isn't too much longer until you guys can see it, and I cannot wait to see people's reactions because what we saw, obviously the gameplay was from a very, very good player, but my god, it looked absolutely amazing. Now the next question says, do you know how many colors there are for sabers? Do you think that there will be more colors to unlock in crates, or possibly we buy crystals at the shops? And that is a very good question. There's actually sort of multiple parts to it. What I can say straight off the bat is that at an absolute minimum there are 9 lightsaber colors within the game. In terms of like the actual blade itself, the kyber crystal, there's obviously probably a lot more colors in terms of the hilt design, but for the lightsaber blade itself there are confirmed to be at least 9 in the game, and that is early on. That is on Kobo, so we may be able to unlock even more of these, and I dare say that we will be able to. Please do take that with a grain of salt, because just because I said it doesn't confirm that to be the case. But just like in Fallen Order, we did eventually unlock some more at the end, and then obviously with like the new game plus and all that kind of thing, there was Inquisitor Cal, and we could actually have the red saber. So that is 9 lightsaber colors, and I'll show them on screen for you guys. You can see them all down the bottom there. This is actually in the gameplay they gave us. There's a lot of cool different colors there. There is not a red option, and I dare say there's going to be red. They had it in the first game. It'll probably be something you unlock for that new game plus if they still have that. I assume they will, and I kind of like that because on your first playthrough it kind of does feel weird to have a red saber. I think it should be more of a thing where it's like you complete the game and then you can kind of just play however you want. So yeah, at the very minimum there is 9. We can see 9 there, and I dare say that there's going to be at least a couple more throughout the game as well. Now the next question is actually about the day-night cycle, and it says, is there a discernible day-night cycle that you noticed? I just saw a couple different shots from trailers and gameplay from the same planet, and it seems like the time of day changed, but that could just be narratively based, I suppose. Now I can't 100% guarantee that there is like a genuine day-night cycle. A lot of games, for example Skyrim, Red Dead Redemption 2, GTA is a great example. These games actually have a genuine day-night cycle, and it actually doesn't matter even in an actual mission, like a main storyline mission. If you wait until it's nighttime and then do that mission, it's still nighttime in the actual mission. I don't think it'll be to that scale where if it's like daytime on Kobo and you wait till nighttime and then do a mission, it'll be nighttime in the mission. I dare say that each kind of section of the game and each core mission will have kind of a set time and weather to it. But what I can say is there definitely is like different weather and different times of day on the same planets. I can show examples here on Kobo. This first shot, it's kind of looking like it's getting, you know, late afternoon, the sun's about to set, and then there's another sort of section, this is literally like 100 meters away from where that first shot was, that is much brighter, and it's like more the middle of the day, and even the weather just looks a little bit nicer. So there definitely will be different weather and times of day on each planet, but again, that could be, like you said, more based on the narrative, or it could just be like it's always daytime, but maybe there are different weather effects or different times of day, even though it's not going to be nighttime. It might be like morning, noon, and afternoon, for example. So it's kind of a hard one to answer, but yeah, there's definitely going to be different times of day and weather on each planet, that's for sure. The next question says, if you use dual wield stance, can you deflect multiple enemy blaster bolts at once like you can with the double blade? Now, for those who don't understand this question, obviously you can always deflect multiple blaster bolts, but I think what Jacob's getting at here is actually deflecting them directly back at your enemies. You guys will know if you're using the double blade and you perfectly parry a blaster bolt and there's like a bunch of other enemies shooting at you, you'll perfectly parry every single one of them. Whereas with like the single blade in Fallen Order, it would only deflect one. So what I can say is that with the dual wield stance, it does not do the same as the double blade. In this sense, it is pretty much identical as the single blade, where it will just deflect the first one and then the second one will just be regularly blocked, which is a bit of a shame because it would look so cool to see Cal like dual wielding his sabers and perfectly deflecting all of them back like you do with the double blade. But unfortunately, that was one of the things I actually tried straight away, and unfortunately that did not work. It essentially just acts like a single blade. The next question is about a very polarizing topic for the first game, and that is the dismemberment. And he says, how is the dismemberment in the game and how it handled? It is really, really good from what I experienced. It is like so much more apparent in this game than it was in the first game. Obviously there was none on like essentially living characters, it was only on droids and, you know, certain creatures, but stormtroopers and stuff like that, there was no dismemberment at all. There is definitely dismemberment on stormtroopers, and I'd imagine many other creatures in this game. We see the Wampa getting its arm cut off, we see multiple clips of like stormtroopers getting their whole legs cut off and stuff. So the dismemberment is definitely real, and what I noticed when I was playing is that it is probably more apparent than I thought it would be. Now, it's not like every single kill has dismemberment, so it's not fully realistic in that sense, because obviously we know lightsabers are going to cut straight through anyone. It's not like that on every kill, but it pretty much felt like it was like 1 in 10 at the very, very minimum was a dismemberment kill. So like if you fight a bunch of enemies, you're going to probably get a dismemberment kill in there, if not potentially multiple of them. So it handled really well. It didn't seem in your face where it's like every kill is like that, and it also didn't feel like I just never saw it. It was pretty well balanced, I thought. Now the next question says, I heard some stances parry or dodge differently. Do they, and was that confusing at all? They definitely do. The stances are like genuinely really different to each other. I know they may not look all that different in the gameplay, but when you actually play, you can genuinely feel that there is a difference in how you're playing. For the 3 to 4 hours that I was playing, I pretty much only had the dual blade and then the double blade. I didn't really use the single blade at all because it was pretty much the same as the first game, whereas double blade and the like dual wield stance really, really improved and very different from each other. And yeah, the parrying and the dodging definitely felt a bit different. Parrying with the dual wielded sabers, it's kind of a bit more risky, so it's, you know, you got to get the timing more right, but then when you do it, you kind of deal more damage with those dual wield sabers, so it's more of like a high risk, high reward. Whereas like playing the double blade, that kind of felt a bit safer. It's a bit less risky, you're not going to take as much damage, but also when you do hit a parry, for example, you're not going to kind of deal as much damage on that next hit. So the parries definitely felt different, and I feel like the dodges definitely felt a little bit different too. Now it could have just been animations, not too sure about the actual like dodge timing and distance of your dodges and stuff like that, but it definitely felt and looked a bit different as well. And it didn't really feel confusing. Now maybe when you have all 5 stances, maybe it will be hard to remember like the parry timing of all of them at once, for example, but it didn't feel confusing to me, and it kind of actually felt really well balanced considering it's like the first time they've actually done something like this. So yeah, it didn't feel confusing at all, but they do also feel very different from each other. Now the next question is about fast travel, and it says, can you fast travel to any meditation point or just the ones you've been to? From what I saw, I'm pretty sure it's just the ones you have been to. I cannot actually confirm that, but I'm also going to just go out on a whim and say that is surely the case, because if you could just go to all of them, you could just, that's like game breaking. You could literally get to anywhere on the map without even having to travel. You could pass certain things that you need to get to, for example. So I don't know that for sure because I didn't actually look at the individual names and remember where I'd been and stuff like that, but I'm pretty sure when I looked at the fast travel options, there was like 12 to 15 options that I could see, and I'm fairly sure I had been to all of those spots. So technically it is any meditation point. I'm pretty sure once you see all of them in the whole game, you can fast travel anywhere, but you actually have to get there first. It's kind of like like if you've played Skyrim, you have to actually travel to a place on the map first. Once you've discovered that place, you can then fast travel there absolutely instantly, but you have to actually go there for the first time to actually unlock fast travel. Now, the last question is once again touching on the blaster gameplay, and this is what I was alluding to before. The question is, why has there been no footage of blaster gameplay? Smells like it's not finished or poorly done. Now, that's a very fair assumption, and to be honest, I kind of had the same thought process. I was kind of like, this is a really cool idea, why are they not showing any of this? But I can tell you from seeing it firsthand, it looked pretty damn finished, and it did not look poorly done whatsoever. Now, there were a few things with it, like some of the directions that the blaster bolts would go, it looked maybe a little bit funky in terms of your blaster would be aiming like straight ahead, but then because you locked onto an enemy to the side, the blaster bolt would kind of go a little bit off to the side, and it didn't really look like where the blaster was aiming, if that makes sense. But literally outside of that, there was not one thing that I could see wrong with it. It played so well. It didn't look overpowered, but it also didn't look completely useless, and it looked way cooler than any of the other stances. And some of these stances, like the double blade saber for example, is so much improved on the first game, and it looks amazing when you're actually playing, and yet the blaster stance looked just way more interesting than the double blade. So thinking that it's not finished or like poorly done, that is a fair assumption. I think a lot of people probably think that, but I can pretty much guarantee that when you guys get to play the game for yourself and you can unlock that blaster stance, you will not be thinking that at all, because literally the room erupted when this gameplay was going on. Everyone was freaking out. You could do like the Deadeye thing from Red Dead 2 where you kind of lock onto a bunch of targets and like slow down time, or to be fair, I think the slow down time was Cal had just like slowed the enemies, so it's not quite the same as Red Dead 2, but he does it with the force, targets a bunch of enemies and shoots them all. There was also one point where he shoots a blaster bolt, then uses the force to kind of catch that blaster bolt after it hits the first enemy, and literally drags it through about 5 other stormtroopers. So one blaster bolt pretty much killed a whole group of stormtroopers, and he just used the force to like drag it through, kind of like what Kylo Ren does where he catches it. And he could also kind of do the similar thing in Fallen Order where you would like freeze it and then shoot it back at them, but this one he literally almost grabbed the blaster bolt and just like moved it through a bunch of enemies. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I cannot wait for you guys to see it, and yeah, trust me, you guys don't need to be worried about the blaster stance. I was a little bit before I'd seen it, and as of right now, it's probably the one thing in this game that I'm the most keen for. So yeah, rest assured, it is in a very, very good spot. But anyway guys, that is going to do it for another sort of Q&A video. Like I said in the last one, if you guys have more and more questions, be sure to leave them below, because if you guys really like this video like you did the last one, and you have even more questions, there's no reason I can't just do another one. So be sure to leave them down below. As I said, if you guys are new to the channel, definitely hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more Survivor content. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and may the force be with you always.